We got canceled.
You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Chris, they're on the back. Welcome to episode number 1 of the episode number 50. Episode number 98 of episode number 145 of the Battered Herons podcast.
You know who else is back? Aliens.
Right now with the whole messy conspiracy, it's set up for him. It's tiring to hear the same garbage and people whining.
Suarez is here. That means I'm here. You're gonna have to deal with
That
it.
is so
and
good.
If you don't
baby.
like it, I'm gonna start biting people, bro.
I think he deserves, to be battered.
I've said worse things
just-
on the pitch. I've said worse things on the pitch. I mean,
145 this guy, and that's it.
Not gonna lie to you, Solana. You're probably better off just not saying anything. He said we suck without Messi.
Yeah, we suck without Messi. Like what?
happy 200.
We've done this 200 times, Chris.
I mean, after that introduction, I'm doing terrible. I didn't know that, but
What a disaster. This show is just a disaster. I'm not even gonna sign out.
And while you're at it, get that thumb, put it to work, like and subscribe.
No question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
Chris, the Herons are back. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 218 of the Battered Herons podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, as always, Mr. KBD. How are you doing, sir?
Listen, I've been waiting for this specific show
I know.
for years.
I know.
This one today
It's kind of
for
sick,
years. It's
I
not
find
sick.
Yep,
And
yep,
I'm
yep,
sorry,
yep.
but I have to let it be known.
All right, and shout out to everybody that's already joining us. Mr. Krabs, the Herons are back. 100%. We are back, and we are doing a preview show because we have Chicago coming up on Saturday. Last night, we had that big win against Toronto, 3-1. We are back on top of the Supporter Shield standings, and things are feeling pretty good. We got one game left in the regular season. Then we got Leagues Cup, which at this point, most Inter Miami fans don't care about. And then we got to wait till August 24th till our next home game for the regular season, at least. And we already know that might not happen, right? If Cincinnati makes a far run or even Inter Miami makes the semifinals, that game gets pushed back. And guess what? Our next regular season game in August could be against Chicago also because we play them on August 31st. So this might be a double preview. But without further ado, let's bring on our guest, Nick from the Glasshouse Soccer Show. There he is. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine, my friends. Great to be on with you.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. It was actually I contacted you pretty late. It was yesterday or the day before. So I appreciate you finding the time to join us.
Yeah, of course, man. Soccer first. I teach it to my kids too. Soccer first, guys.
Listen, for you guys, it might be soccer first, but I want to get the soccer talk super over with. I'm ready to talk real talk stuff. Talk about hot dogs and ketchup, okay?
All right.
That's what I'm ready for.
If you want to call that a hot dog, all right, go ahead. I think I heard your microwave ding right before we started recording too.
We'll get into that as we usually gas bag at the end of the show. But before we do, again, Glasshouse Soccer, that's Nick, and I guess we'll start off where we usually start off. And before we even ask you how you've done this season, this is the first time we have a Chicago guest on the show. Chicago's been around for 26 years now? 26 seasons?
Inaugural season was 98.
Nice.
So, are there any traditions that have been built in those 26 years? Because we love to hear about different traditions that other teams have going on.
Oh, yeah. There have been a lot of traditions with this club, with the fans, with the supporters especially. But to talk about the traditions, you got to kind of talk about the different ownership eras. So there was that first kind of decade of ownership where it was the Fire breaking into the league, playing at Soldier Field. You got the red jerseys with the collars, and you really are building that supporters culture. You're seeing the culture from all the ethnic groups and the different clubs from around Chicago all rallying under the Chicago Fire banner. And that's kind of the first 10 years. Then when you move into your kind of second ownership group, they are still hated by fans today. The whole Andrew Haltman era, and he got rid of the red jersey. He got rid of the original logo. He got rid of a lot of the supporters traditions by kind of moving them around different stadiums or different sections in the new stadium. It was not a good time for Fire fans. But now that we have new ownership in Joe Mansueto, who is in his third or fourth year, I forget off the top of my head right now, third or fourth year as the new owner, You may know him from his big investment firm Morningstar, as well as owning FC Lugano over in the Swiss League. So he has really embraced the fan base and bringing people back to the stadium, moving the team back into Soldier Field in Chicago, basing things on the city. He's returned to red. We got our red jerseys back for the first time in years. They are slowly building up a Chicago community in the city. You've still got the barn burners. You've still got the Red Line supporter group, Sector Latino, that is doing their tailgates and their chants and their drums. But really the next step is to unify some of these supporters groups now that we have a welcoming home under the new ownership.
And before we came on, you reminded me of something that I had actually forgotten. And we had been talking about the Miami Fusion over the last week since we found out about the archive kids. You reminded me that Chicago and the Miami Fusion actually came into the league the same year. And the Chicago Fire actually won the MLS Cup their inaugural season.
Yeah, they're the only American professional sports team to do that, or at least in the major league sports. Can't keep track of all the minor leagues. So they won the double as well. They had MLS Cup, they had Open Cup, and just haven't been able to replicate it since then. Obviously, it's a high standard. But the other thing I forgot to mention with the traditions, the biggest one is the Ring of Fire, which is essentially their Hall of Fame. And just this season, you saw, so you saw Zach Thornton, the former goalkeeping great for the Fire, as well as their current goalkeeper coach, who's doing a great job churning out some top-end goalkeeping talent. He was inducted this season, and you've got other Fire greats like Peter Novak, Frank Klopas, and others who are in the Ring of Fire.
Oh, very cool. And any in-game or in-day or day of traditions, a march to the stadium, anything like Nashville has the guitar riff and stuff like that?
So they started a new tradition this season, Sound the Alarm, where they bring in a celebrity. They have a giant fire alarm, and it's made of, it looks like glass, but it's all sugar. It's like a movie prop. So one of the supporters section representatives hands an axe down to the celebrity, and they smash open the fire alarm with the axe, pull down the handle, sirens going off in the stadium, flares going off in the stadium. It actually is a really cool thing.
That's pretty cool.
People didn't want manufactured traditions, but this turned out really well.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure something out. Like, we don't have anything so far. Like, Chris, do we have any traditions?
I mean, there's really none that I can think of.
We don't have anything.
Walking in.
Well, I'm hoping that when we get the new stadium, Vice City walks in, but that's from their parking lot, and they have a small march to the stadium. But that's not really like a full fan involvement. I'm hoping that when the new stadium opens, we get something going, because we don't have anything as of right now. But Mike V reminded us.
Yeah,
we have Fridge Guy.
Fridge Guy.
Yes. Yesterday was the anniversary of Fridge Guy taking a big L. We had last year, we had Messi get presented to everybody. Right, they had a big event, and it ended up being an actual rainstorm during the event. Winds like crazy. Yeah. And then there was a video of a fridge that, I don't know, it wasn't latched onto anything, just went flying across and took a guy out. And we coined the guy Fridge Guy.
Earl lacquered that guy.
Brian, yep. Yeah, nice reference there. I like that. Chicago episode, Brian Urlacher, good job.
There you go. We also had a player to call the Fridge too, so that would have worked as well.
Yes.
There you go.
Ooh.
So we're going to a couple Super Bowl
Dick Butt Kiss. There you go.
All
right.
We're just going to start naming random Cedric Benson. We're just going to start naming random.
Wow, Cedric Benson. Wow.
That is pretty random, man. I was trying to keep the fridge theme going. I don't know if there's any other appliance nicknames. If you guys got any like washing machines down in Miami or not, I don't know.
No. Oh, Refrigerator Perry.
Ooh, that's a good one.
There you go.
Rest
Mike
in peace, Fridge Guy.
Shout out to Mike V joining us from Italy.
Yeah.
No, seriously, he's in Italy right now.
That's cool. That's awesome. I was actually thinking, about the traditions, if you guys do have something that walks in or anything like that, because like, the Bear Stadium is like located in a pretty nice area. It's, it's comfortably located, and it's next to the water. So like, I figured that you guys would have had something, that sort of gives the ability to be able to kind of gather everybody together over by that park where the bean is or whatnot. I think that's a little further, maybe.
Yeah. So that area is a little bit further, too far to walk, and not the space or the approvals to tailgate. But the Chicago Soldier Field has 2 parking lots to the south of it. So when you get to the further south parking lot, that's where the supporters groups all meet up. That's where they do their tailgates. That's where they have their shots of Malort and everything that you need to do beforehand. And the supporters groups will then walk to the stadium together and walk on in, banging their drums, singing their chants. We actually have a supporter who plays the saxophone, another one who plays the trumpet. So they could put together a nice blues band and keep the Chicago music going if they really wanted to.
Nice.
I just want to throw out the name Devin Hester out there just for the fans right here. All right.
Hall of Famer.
Yep. So Chicago Fire coming into the season. Did you guys have any hope of it? By the way, you guys have Chris Mueller. I hate that guy. Absolutely hate him.
How do you hate
just putting that out there. I hate that guy. He was originally an Orlando City guy. Hated him there. So my hate just carried on to wherever he goes. He is in Chicago. Hate Chris Mueller. All right. So coming into the season, what were your expectations and how have you met them? Like, because you guys aren't doing that great.
No. So obviously we're not meeting expectations because we're sitting in 13th right now out of 15. It was a wild offseason for the Fire. Last year ended very, very poorly. Fired the coach, bringing Frank Klopas as the interim for like his 4th time as a coach for the Chicago Fire. Wild history for him. I think that's another Chicago Fire tradition, is just rehiring Frank Klopas every 4 or 5 years to coach the team. They didn't make any sort of moves. They didn't turn over the front office. So every Fire fan was just like, this is terrible. This is awful. They're going to run it back, and we have no expectations. Well, then they announced Frank Klopas as the new full-time head coach, and they have announced extensions for the front office. And so we're like, oh, good. We were right. This is terrible, and they're running it back. Then they go out and sign Hugo Kuipers. Then they go out and sign Kellen Acosta. They go out and sign Andrew Gutman. And we're thinking, we just improved in 3 positions across our starting lineup here. This is fantastic. If we can get the rest of the team to take a step forward, we're in good shape. They sign Alan Aragoni to help shore up the back line a little bit, playing a right outside back. We're thinking we're in pretty good shape here, and we can get into the playoffs. If not at the 7 spot, then probably in an 8 or 9 seed, get that playing game going. Then the results did not pan out to the expectations. And here we are in 13th place, losing to teams like New England and dropping down to the standings. So that's where we're at.
But not only that, but I mean, you guys did us the favor of beating Cincinnati yesterday. So like you're losing to the New Englands, but then you're beating the Cincinnatis. I mean, we took a butt whooping from them 5-1.
I did not expect that. I'll tell you, I did my preview show, and I'm like, Cincinnati's going to score 4 goals on us. Let's just watch it happen. But then Acosta's out, Miazga's out, Robinson's out, and the Chicago Fire pulls something out of their butt for about 2 minutes of good play, and they get that counterattacking goal, and that's it. But yeah, their season has been extremely inconsistent. You know, you beat Cincinnati, you split games. I shouldn't even say split games. You draw and you lose to Atlanta.
You drew at NYCFC.
Yeah, draw to NYCFC at home. You draw and lose to New England. Like, comeback wins against Montreal and Philly. It is an up and down season. There's no consistency, and we're hoping that in the next season, if they can stabilize things with a long-term coaching staff, a couple more acquisitions, then yeah, maybe they can just constantly be that 6 to 9 seed team for another season or 2. That's what we're looking for at this point.
Shakiri is technically part of your team, but is he really part of your team?
That's a great question. He technically is. He is on the roster. I thought he would be back this week after the Euros, but head coach Klopas said, you know what, he's still recovering after the Euros. It's typical for players after international tournaments to take a little extra time. And I'm hearing all that, and I'm just thinking, yeah, they're trying to get another deal done. They're trying to move him.
Yeah, because he was done like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yes. So, I think he's ready to go back to Europe. In fact, I would say I know he's ready to go back to Europe. He has said he wants to finish his career in Europe. So he's only got probably 2 or 3 more seasons left. Now's the time for him to make a move. Now's the time for the Fire to move him after that Euros performance.
Now, I've been looking at some of the recent games that you played, that Chicago have played, and I noticed that you guys have like this 3-4-2-1 deal or 3-4-1-2 deal, or I don't know if it's 5 in the back. Like, I mean, what is it? Because I can't get really an understanding of like how you guys set up.
Yeah, I don't think the players even know at this point. They started the season playing a 4-2-3-1 and have switched to a 3-5-2-1, and even then or a 3-5, 3-5-1 kind of a thing. Yeah, too many players on the field here, but really the way Klopas has coached the team is he wants to have kind of a defensive set, and when you're on offense, it's free flowing. You kind of go where the play dictates, and you see that especially when the subs come in. If you look for Yorgos Koutsias to come in off the bench in the second half, he's all over the place. He's on the left, he's on the right, he's dropping deep. Like, he has the freedom, and a lot of those strikers, attacking players have the freedom to be all over the place. But yeah, lately you've been seeing them play with a 3-man back line, and then having either Jonathan Dean, Chris Mueller, or on the other side, Arnaud Souquet, who's been playing a little center back, Alan Aragoni, kind of as wing-back type players pushing the attack forward.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Mike V's here saying that you currently have an 8-1-1. Now, I mean,
maybe when we're up 1-0 against Cincinnati, we'll play 8-1-1, but yeah, I haven't seen that too much.
Literally the Nashville setup. And this is a good question by Mike V. He's asking, who is Chicago's Clásico against?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the fans want to really set up kind of a rivalry and see it build with one of their teams. Early on in the history, it was Columbus. Both teams just playing in the Midwest. That was, if I recall correctly, that is who Chicago beat in the U.S. Open Cup in '98 for them to win their second trophy. So Columbus has been kind of a regional rivalry, but with Cincinnati coming in and the Fire being so poor, that rivalry has kind of fallen by the wayside. New England used to be a big rival for the Fire. They used to see them in the playoffs quite frequently in the 2000s. As you know, playoffs breed rivalries. Mm-hmm. Now, I think it's starting to be St. Louis. There's natural rivalries with the Cubs and the Cardinals. When the Bears played the Rams and they were still there, like there's a lot of, and of course the Blackhawks and the Blues. That was a huge rivalry. So it's natural there, and I think the fans would really like to see that develop into something. Kind of hard when they're in the Western Conference and Chicago's in the East, and kind of hard when St. Louis wants to stick it to Kansas City as often as they can. But I think that's another rivalry that could grow. Now, you want to look ahead a little bit. Maybe Indianapolis gets that MLS bid in the future, and the Chicago Fire can really develop something with them.
The Indianapolis 11?
That's right.
That would be pretty interesting, no, Danny? I mean, if Indianapolis gets it, then it's just a weird hodgepodge in the Midwest, right? Because, like, you know how you mentioned Cincinnati, and then, I mean, Columbus, we have Cincinnati here who has their rivalry with Columbus, but then they also have, I mean, I don't remember who Cincinnati's rivalry is at this moment if it's not Columbus, Danny.
Mez, just real quick, how is an 8-1-1 possible?
Watch a Nashville game.
They're joking, Mez. They're joking.
No, they're not. Watch a Nashville game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like you said, like who would think that Chicago and New England is going to be the rival? Just because a lot of people base it on proximity, but it's playoffs. When they get back into the playoffs, they'll get a new rival. Until then, like everybody's trying to force the whole Miami-Orlando deal, but we've come to realize our rival is Nashville. We've played them in the playoffs, in Champions Cup. We played them our first ever playoff game. We came into the league first time, Leagues Cup final. Like, it's Nashville. Like, there's no way around it. That's who our rival is. And but even though people want to force the whole Orlando issue, so
I think Nashville could have been a Chicago rival too. Again, if the teams actually would meet up at some point, with Nashville bouncing between conferences. But like you're saying, with Miami meeting them in non-league kind of tournaments and matches, like that's a great way to build it.
Yeah. So as far as Chicago goes, you guys haven't had a good year, but is there something that you guys do well? Do you like, man, we do this well. We might have a lot of other weaknesses, but this is a strong part of our team.
Goalkeeping. Without a doubt, Chris Brady has been the standout player for this team game in and game out all season. He is a fantastic keeper. He shot stopping, coming off of his line. He knows how to waste time and piss off other fans, which is fantastic. Like just watch
He's
the
one of
last.
those.
He's a unit. He's a unit.
He could do it all. Just watch those last few minutes of the Cincinnati game when the fans are chanting "F Chris Brady, F Chris Brady," and he's just kind of like smiling and waving. Like,
now we know, Chris. We sit right behind the goalie. We're gonna curse him
I'm
out.
gonna destroy him. I'm throwing ketchup packets at him all day because
that might motivate him.
He's from Illinois, also.
He is from Naperville. That's right. Yeah, about an hour and a half outside of the city. So he is just. He's locked in. I got to meet him in the off season, and they were doing a little Q&A with him, and he was just like, my favorite food, spaghetti, next question. My favorite athlete, Tom Brady, next question. Like, he's locked in kind of a guy. Don't
it's pretty cool that you guys got him to follow up Gaga.
Yeah, it's the Chicago Fire goalkeeping line. It has been amazing, and there's no sign it's stopping. They drafted the goalkeeper out of Notre Dame last year. And he just got loaned out to Nashville's MLS Next Pro team. They have 2 keepers who are playing on the U.S. youth national teams. Like the Chicago Fire set on keepers for like the next decade. There's nothing to worry about there. The one other thing, if you wanted to look at what the Fire do well, I would say the counterattacking, if you have Hugo Kuipers and Brian Gutierrez involved in it. Just go back and look at that goal against Cincinnati. They know how to run. They know how to break. If Gutierrez is feeling confident and he is attacking the center of the pitch and starting to look for his shot 20, 22 yards out, that's a good sign for him. If Kuipers is getting some early touches and shots, that's another really good sign. If those 2 guys can get going, everything else kind of falls into place. But other than that, Chicago is probably average, below average team.
So I guess this segues pretty easily. So what's the biggest weakness on your team?
Well, right now, I would say center backs, just because injuries have forced them to kind of change their position, and maybe the back line as a whole. If you can take advantage of, say, Jonathan Dean, Mauricio Pineda, if he ends up getting the start, and then maybe Arnaud Souquet to a certain extent. Fast attackers can take advantage of those guys. They can turn them around, draw yellow cards from them. So that is a weakness. Thankfully, Wyatt Olmsberg has stepped up. The man is very, very smart, reads the game very, very well. And the more that he grows into this team and kind of starts taking over that back line, the better you'll see the defensive play. The other issue is goal scoring. The Chicago Fire don't get a lot of shots on goal. Last match against Cincinnati was 8, and that was like the most they've had probably in a month or so, minus that Philadelphia game. So they struggle in the final third.
You scored 29 goals all year.
Yeah,
there's only
not
6
a good
teams or 7 teams worse than them.
Yeah, considering we have a $12 million DP, that's pretty bad. But he's not getting the service. He is reliant on service. Everyone saw that on the scouting report when they signed him. So generating opportunities for Kuipers is the other weakness, without a doubt.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be like heavy eating. And now you mentioned usually on quick attackers, quick strikers, which is kind of scary for me because Luis Suarez is not quick. Campana is not the quickest. You have Borgelin, who if he comes off the bench is not quick.
Borgel's not playing.
Robert Taylor is the only one that I could see that can tear people up when it comes to the speed and the pace and the skill set. Other than that, I mean, I don't see anybody else on our team, Danny, that will be turning around fairly quickly against their defense.
I think that Diego Gomez leaving for the Olympics. I think you're going to see Matias Rojas in the midfield behind Robert Taylor. And that left side with Jordi Alba, you're going to see a lot of attack going up the left side with Jordi Alba, Robert Taylor, and Matias Rojas is what I would assume. And then my favorite player, Julian Gressel, a.k.a. James Rodriguez, the American version. You know what? He is the American James Rodriguez. I'm just going to call him James from now on. James Gressel is his name. James. That's it. So we got James up top, and I think that he gives that.
Oh, Danny, your mic is muted. I mean, look, I know that Danny, he mentioned himself that he was gonna get a shirt that says "I'm sorry, Gressel," because he'd been talking so much crap about Gressel. I mean, everybody has, but at some point, what ended up happening is he turned it around because Messi had to take some time off, and he's finally able to play the right wing at this point. No, Danny?
Yeah, and I lost my train of thought, so I have no idea what I was saying. So we're just gonna move on.
Nice. And you were on it.
But that's what I think makes Miami so dangerous, is because, you look at the Chicago Fire team, who've gotten Shakiri, who've gotten Kuipers, who've gotten Kellen Acosta over the last couple of years. Those guys are better than the rest of the team, but they have not figured out how to elevate the team with them. Where I'm really jealous of Miami is, yeah, you've signed Messi and Suarez and Alba and Busquets and all this South American talent. That has caused everybody else to bring their talent up and to play even when they're not in the lineup or not even in the state. And that's what I'm jealous of. I want that kind of intensity from the Fire. If the Fire looks sloppy in the first 10 minutes, then yeah, you guys will hang 4 goals on us, no problem.
But one thing I want to mention here, and I was just going to ask Danny this. I'll wait till he kind of sets himself up here. I guess I'll go to you first, Nick, because we were always talking about how with Messi, Busquets, and Alba and Suarez coming into the MLS, especially to Miami, it's going to help the rest of the league in order to sort of develop and get more eyes on this league and get better quality players over here in the United States. Mm-hmm. I honestly think that Chicago is one of the locations that can quite possibly be able to get big names over to play for their team. Because everybody thinks about the edges of the country, right? You got the New Yorks, you got the Los Angeles, you got Seattle, but I think Chicago is a really nice landing point for someone that still has some fuel in the tank.
I'm with you 100% on that one. It's the same argument Chicago fans have in the NBA. It's the same argument they have in all their other sports. Is why don't these big stars want to come to Chicago? I think the Fire specifically have had a little bit of a problem in the past opening them up their pocketbooks. Not so under this new owner. I think the Fire have maybe the 3rd highest payroll, 5th highest payroll. I mean, they're up there this season. So they're not shy about spending money. The problem has just been identifying the right players to spend the money on. And the other thing is the weather here, 6 months out of the year, is terrible. So I don't know how much international superstars, when they come over, if they want to have a nice Midwest winter as part of their living arrangement. But I'll tell you,
I was gonna put out, and I was gonna tell you that was my theory also. I think the weather, because when these guys come and they're a little later in their career and they've been playing in England or France or all these places that have poor weather, why not come somewhere like San Diego, LA, Miami? Like, they want good weather.
Absolutely. But when you talk to Bastian Schweinsteiger, who was here for 3 seasons, he absolutely loved his time in Chicago. He will still pop on the Chicago social media every now and then and reply, or if there's a big game, tweet something out that shows he's still thinking about the team. So there's definitely a blueprint there for big stars to come over. The other thing is they just announced they're going to be on time with their new training facility, finish that up sometime, I want to say next summer or so. So with the new facility, with newer ownership, with the willingness to spend the money, I think that's going to attract talent. We just need to get a world-class coach. That has been a big missing piece, and that'll bring over some people.
I do think so, Danny. I mean, I really do think that Chicago would be a really good landing spot for someone that's probably younger, not the greatest player, but can be able to sort of develop and grow here as well. I think so.
Yeah, or with someone in that Ricky Pooch model who came up with Barca, maybe didn't get the shot that the starting lineup he wanted, and then could come ball out in MLS for sure.
They'll kill it. They'd kill it there.
All right. So I'm going to ask you, let's say hypothetically you are a degenerate. I'm not saying you're not. Maybe you are. But let's say hypothetically you are.
The lawyer in me appreciates you saying hypothetically.
Right. So, allegedly. And you decide to put the money on Inter Miami. You're betting the house on Inter Miami. But a little part of you gets a little nervous. So you go up to Tata and you whisper in his ear, I got the house on you. I'm going to help you out. This is how you beat Chicago. What are you telling him?
Where's the money at?
Ooh, man. He already knows how. First of all, I wouldn't have to tell that to Tata. I think he already knows how to beat Chicago. But if you want to beat Chicago, then you just need to go after Jonathan Dean, go after Arnosuke, go after Alon Aragoni, those outside backs, pressure them, put them in high intensity situations. They will commit fouls, they will pick up yellow cards, and if you can keep the pressure and the Chicago Fire backline, if they backpedal, they take 2 steps back into their box, your strikers will have a field day shooting from 18 to 20 yards out.
Danny, if Robert Taylor doesn't make the start this game, I'm gonna throw everything onto the field.
This does sound like a Robert Taylor game for sure.
Oh my gosh,
this sounds like a Robert Taylor game. This does sound, as far as the tactics that you guys play, do you guys press high? Do you guys play the counter? Because we've been giving up possession since Messi and Busquets have been out. It hasn't happened much. Last game, I guess, yesterday, we were playing the counter and the long ball. How do you guys usually play?
So well, Nick Nick, I remember you were mentioning that you guys are sort of a bigger counter team, no?
Yeah, and it changes from a defensive perspective. It has changed throughout the course of the season. Again, we started with a 4-man back line and 2 defensive midfielders. Lately, it's been a 3 center back system with 5 midfielders, a couple of wing backs, if you will. So Frank Klopas, you've seen him in some games try to really clog up the middle of the field, have a higher pressing line, bringing guys into the middle. I would imagine he's going to do something similar to Miami and try to force you guys to play up the wings, just because we know how much ball control Miami has and how you like to play those little chips over the center, go right up to the striker. So I have a feeling he's going to play a higher line and try and really clog up the middle of the field, rather than try to keep things spread out and do some sort of man marking scheme or anything like that. That's what I'm looking for in this game.
And to the point that you made about fouling, there's only one team that has fouled more than you in the Eastern Conference. I think it was DC United. So you guys do foul quite a bit.
I think the Fire have the most red cards too this season as well of any team in the league. And I'm sure they're up there on yellows too.
As far as red cards, you guys are not. No, you're not.
No, you guys aren't up there. I think you only have one.
Yeah, you only have one.
Yeah, yellow cards. You guys are like top 12, but fouls. You guys are pretty high. You guys are like top 6,
second in the East.
7.
Okay. Yeah. Wow, I thought we had a lot more red cards than that, but all right, fair enough.
All right. So I guess it's prediction time. Nick. We got this game. You just beat Cincinnati, which was the leader in the Supporter Shield race just yesterday. No longer. How are you feeling about this game? Give us a prediction.
I'm not feeling good about this game. I think that just is in part the fact that I am a Chicago fan, and I rarely feel good about games until the final whistle is blown across all sports. The Fire have been a very inconsistent team this year, and for them to get back-to-back wins would be a little out of character for this season. I think they end up losing 3-1 in this game. I just recorded my individual show before I jumped on with you guys, and that's what I have put on my show. I think it's a 3-1 loss. The Fire have a chance to get a result if they come out super aggressive and can kind of put Miami a little bit on their back heels, take advantage of your defense and Drake Calendar's play. But if they come out in their usual, let's try to play for a result on the road kind of mentality, I don't see it going well.
You guys have won one road game all year. And yes,
really?
Nick is definitely a battered fan.
Trying to think. Ooh,
you guys
won one road game all year, and that was yesterday.
Oh, that was in Cincinnati? Okay, there you go. That was the only road
win. That's the one, then that's probably it. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, that gets into the coaching mentality of draws on the road, wins at home. Okay, fine, get your draws on the road, but you're not winning at home.
Correct.
Well, I mean, he's right about one thing, Danny. I mean, teams are typically scoring against us very quickly. So if Chicago does score early, it could quite possibly, get us at a point where the game is not going to be advantageous to us.
I mean, look, we've gotten scored on first, and within the first 15 minutes, I want to say out of the 24 games, I think it's happened like 13, 14 times, and we've only lost like 1 or 2 of those. Like we've won most of them, so I wouldn't be too worried if we give up an early goal. So I guess I'll go next. I think that because of the fact that you want us to attack your fullbacks, the fact that we're going to be building up the left side with Jordi Alba, the fact that Robert Taylor, it sounds like the perfect game for him because he will take a man one-on-one. He will have your defenders backpedaling. And if you give him an open opportunity from 18 feet, he will take it. He will curl it into the top right corner. I think that Inter Miami, I'll put the same scoreline as yesterday. I'll put 3-1. We just can't get clean sheets for whatever reason. It just won't happen. But I'm going to say 3-1 Inter Miami. Chris, what are you thinking?
I'm going to go with Soccer Daddy here, and I'm going to go 4-1. I'm going to go 4-1. I'm just going to exaggerate. I mean, why not? Huh? I mean, it's going to be a good one. I wish, look, I really think that Chicago is a better team than a lot of people consider them to be. And I remember them playing last year, and I'm like, wow, this team is like they look a lot better than where they're standing. But recently they've just been in a funk. So, and then considering that they've been scored on, I mean, pretty
40 times.
Yeah, man, it's tough. So I gotta say 4-1. I mean, we're playing at home. We just got to win without Messi again. It's gonna be good. 4-1, I think.
Don't say 40 like you're shocked though. You know, we've given up 38 goals. Like, we're not much better.
Well, I mean, I got my last prediction right, and I got 4-1 now. So guys, I got the last one right. Put the house on it. Just don't come after me, okay?
All right. Real quick, and Nick, now we usually like to ask a couple questions. I know Chris wants to get to something specifically, but I'm going to ask
Mike V is telling me it's 2:30 in the morning. He wants me to get to the hot dogs already.
All right, real quick.
Yeah.
Nick, we ask a question of every guest at the end of the show. You got to let us know. What is it?
Oh, wow. I did not expect to see that today, but Backstreet, definitely.
Oh,
thank you, sir.
Nick, you know what? I didn't like you before I even saw you just because I've been waiting for this show for 2 years. And now, because you sided with Danny.
I mean, what can I say?
His choice.
That's it, man. It takes me right back to the halls of middle school. Anytime I hear the Backstreet Boys, the little crushes in the halls and school dances being awkward. Yeah, Backstreet, for sure.
I mean, the next question, should I just, yeah, there we go. We got the sandwich right up here, Nick. Which one are you going with, diagonal cut or vertical cut?
Oh, see, for me, it depends. If it's just a regular sandwich, then I'll do the vertical. If you're going club sandwich, it's got to be diagonal.
Okay. See, he mixes it up, Danny.
Yeah, I see. Okay. And then last one.
That's me shopping with my shopping cart, holding it from the front of the cart because that's how I shop. And Danny shops like this guy, holding it in the back of the cart. You seem like a basket kind of guy, to be honest. But if you had the shopping cart, where are you going?
Yeah, definitely a basket guy, man. I am in and out. If I got to push a cart, it's taking too long. I'm gonna split the difference here. I mix it up. Like, usually I start from the back, taking it easy up and down the aisles, and then, you know, when you're weaving in and out of the old ladies taking their time, slip to the front, whip the cart around.
Boom.
You know, mix it up.
It's go time. You see, Danny, what I tell you about the pulling the cart. When it's go time, I'm shopping. It's go time.
Maneuverability is key.
Somebody called me a tugger. Somebody called you a tugger. What's a tugger?
I don't know. I guess they mean like tugging the cart. I'd like to say, I like to think that before it goes to some other place.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead. Get to your hot dogs because this is going to go off.
All right. So first of all, I went to Chicago many years ago. Okay. Yeah. And I find it appalling that at the airport, this is the sign that greets me. And I can't, there it is. It's a sign that I see, and it says, it's considered bad manners and harmful to your taste buds to put ketchup on your hot dog within the city limits of Chicago. I'm going to ask you, Danny, what do you think about this sign right here?
I think that's preposterous. I put ketchup on every hot dog I've ever eaten.
Nick, you right now, unfortunately, you're representing all of Chicago at this very moment.
You are CM Punk right now.
Yes. So what's going on with that? Why is it basically feels like I am committing a felony by putting ketchup on my hot dog?
you said it. You are basically committing a felony by putting ketchup on your hot dog. They're telling you right when you get into the city, look, this is what we take seriously here in Chicago: sports, music, and food. And if you're gonna start putting ketchup on hot dogs, then, well, we know that you don't take your hot dog seriously, or at least don't take your food seriously.
So is there a reason? Do you know if there's a reason? What's the hate on the ketchup?
Dude, the history of it escapes me, but if you think of a traditional Chicago style hot dog, and you've got your sesame seed bun, you've got the dog with a little bit of snap in the case, you have your tomatoes, peppers, onions, relish. You can't put ketchup on any of that.
What the hell is all that stuff?
Oh no, you're wild.
A traditional Chicago style hot dog, it's a meal in and of itself. Just like the deep dish pizza. You eat 1 or 2 slices.
The deep dish
wait, hold on, Danny. I know.
No,
Danny, hold on. Let me get in first. Let me get my jabs in first, and then you can go. Okay. All right. Now, all right. You guys in Chicago say that Chicago's are a big thing, right? You're on the stand right now, Nick. Okay.
Yes,
we're bringing the heat. I got this hot dog. This is a disaster. I got this at Wrigley Field when I went to watch them play the Marlins.
what the hell is that?
Right now, this is a mess. Right? I don't even know what's in there. It's just a bunch of madness. Now,
I don't even think Nick knows what that is.
Squinting at this picture, dude.
So that I got, and for those of you listening on audio, I apologize, but you have to go to YouTube. Okay, sorry, not sorry. But then I said, you know what? Let me go and get a picture of Portillo's hot dog, right? Because Portillo's is like, I guess, seen as like the conglomerate of hot dogs in Chicago.
That is the staple. That is the measuring stick. Yes.
Now, what are we doing with all of this? This is way too much on a hot dog. This is a mess. It is a disaster. There is toppings on here that, in my opinion, should never be put on a hot dog. Why is there a big...
mustard is allowed, but ketchup isn't?
I mean, it's preposterous.
Correct. Well, first of all, you look at a hot dog like that at Portillo's, that kind of also settles the discussion of, is a hot dog a sandwich or not? Because you put all that on, pretty much a sandwich. But that's a different debate, probably for a different guest. But to me, that's a work of art. Like, I'm looking at something that, Picasso could have painted here. Like, I'm about to run out and go get one after the show. Matter of fact, that's the Chicago Fire's latest promotional item. If they get 5 corner kicks at a home game, everybody gets free Portillo's hot dogs. So they are absolutely all in on the Chicago style dog here. It is a thing of beauty, my friend. What you got at Cubs at Wrigley Field, I didn't even recognize that at food. Now, I'm a Southsider, I'm a Sox fan, and I will rip on the Cubs any chance I get, especially when it comes to food at a ballpark, because Sox Park has some of the best food in MLB. But man, that is a tragedy. That was a crime. And I apologize, since I am speaking on behalf of all Chicagoans here. I apologize for your experience at Wrigley Field. That was pretty terrible. They served it to you like that? They put the mustard on it?
Listen, I ate a bite and I said, this is going straight into the garbage.
Is there any hot dog in there? It looks like it's just a bunch of pickles on bread.
Listen, I don't even know. I asked the guy, I said, give me your hot dog, right? And then he just gave me the hot dog. And I figured, this doesn't look like what I got at Portillo's. I mean, I went to Portillo's and I literally took off 80% of this garbage. And then I put ketchup on it. Listen, one story I'm going to tell you right now. When I went to Portillo's, I was told by a friend of mine when I went there for work one time, they said, do not ask for ketchup because the entire staff will point and laugh at me openly in front of customers.
I hope you listen to your friend.
Oh my God. I'm getting into fights with everybody. I mean, I have to smuggle my own ketchup into places in Chicago.
I mean, you gotta like
smuggling contraband.
You gotta pretend it's for your fries and then kind of like slip your hot dog into it. Like, that's the only way.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Water.
When I went to Philly, I remember they had like a whole way of like, you order your cheesesteak, you gotta go say this with
the whiz,
without, and like, yeah, and like, it's like, what is the secret language, man? Just give me a menu, let me pick what I want.
We
But
we can all agree to hate on Philly together, though. I'll give you that.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Philly sucks.
All right. Well, look, the whole hot dog thing, I don't understand why it's okay to put mustard in not hot dog. I like both. Give me a hot dog, give me some relish, give me some
Yes.
sauerkraut, give me some ketchup.
Sauerkraut.
And to me, that's a hot dog. But you know,
From a
Chicago does
personal
Chicago
standpoint,
things. Now,
everyone's tastes, whatever you like.
Now, Danny, you wanted to talk
Now-
about pizza.
yes,
Or
because I
lasagna.
saw this. I saw this come up here. Mr. Krabs said Chicago deep dish over, I guess, everything.
Yes.
If you like deep dish, that's fine. Just don't call it pizza, because that is not pizza.
What are you supposed to call it?
That looks like a lasagna. That's a lasagna. That's a lasagna with crust around it. That's what it is. That is not a pizza. Please don't insult the great pizzas out there
Mitch.
by calling that deep dish. Like I'm offended. I'm offended that is lasagna. I've never tried it. I don't want to try it because I am offended that they call it pizza.
Taste. Well, you should try it then, just to see what
It
you're
is
missing
good.
out. But what
It
is
is good.
what is around
Even if
Florida,
it's
man? What's
good.
pizza?
Oh no, Florida, we don't have good pizza down here.
No, yeah, that's no good pizza.
Okay,
Everybody's saying
fair.
Miami pizza over stuff. No, don't ever come get
No.
pizza here
No.
in Miami.
Yeah, no,
I
we have
will say, though, but
arroz
I
con
will
pollo.
I'll asterisk my love for deep dish pizza though. Like if I can get a good like tavern style, pub style, thin, crispy, cut it into like 50 different squares and just, eat it throughout the course of watching a bunch of games, like that is tops for me. But yeah, there's still something special about a deep dish,
Why are we cutting it into squares? Why can't we cut it into a slice?
because that's how they
It's
serve them
quick
at pubs.
bites.
So yeah,
quick
quick bites.
bites.
You drink, have a little bite. Drink, have a little bite.
I've
Got a big
never
old
had a
slice.
pizza at a pub.
There you
Is
go.
that how they do it at pubs?
Well, come on into Chicago, order yourself a pizza.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Well,
Absolutely not.
Good talk.
Listen.
Glad we had it. Yeah.
we're not done here, Nick. There's still a lot more to talk about here.
No,
Okay.
You got me all night. Let's go.
I'm done. I don't know. What
You
else
know,
got?
I was gonna talk about Bartman, how you guys felt about Steve Bartman. That's why I wore this shirt, to be honest, even though it says 97, right?
Instead of
but-
2003.
But the Marlins beat the Cubs in 2003, and the only reason I don't like to remember is because they beat the Yankees. But aside from that, they won against the Cubs, and Bartman literally, I mean, he must have been fearing his life out there.
Oh, he pretty much had to enter the witness protection program. Yeah, that was
Not literally though.
Yeah,
I'm a Sox fan. I'm a White Sox fan. So
yeah.
what happened in that game, I found it to be hysterical. I was laughing at every bit of it. But if you really look at the baseball side of it, did he interfere? Didn't he interfere? He was on the fan side of the wall. So I think it was fair game for him. But
I think Moises Alou is more at fault the way he reacted.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
absolutely.
he lit it up.
And that's it. He completely lost his focus. I think the next hit like went right to him and he bobbled the play or something like that. So the fact that the Cubs lost their composure on that was even worse than what Bartman did in interfering with the ball. So that to me is the actual rational side to it.
10 out of 10 fans are playing that ball too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you saw
10
there
out
were
of 10 fans are
people
playing
around
that.
him. Yeah, everyone was diving. He was just the one that hit it.
Yeah, like an awkward guy with a Walkman on. Like, I mean, come on, you're cooked for sure. And you're there. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you could do about that.
Yep.
We're all battered fans here. But when I try to think of battered cities as far as sports fandom goes, Chicago's got to be up there.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've had our phases, right? So
The Blackhawks.
the Blackhawks had a decade of fantastic play. I think there was 7 years where they were in the Western Conference Finals and out of 10 and 3 Stanley Cups in there. So you cannot argue with what the Hawks did. And then you had the 90s Bulls, 6 championships, throw in a World Series by the Cubs and the Sox. So we've won. Like there have been titles. Like I am fortunate enough to say in my lifetime, I have seen every sports team win a title. But when we're bad, Oh man, we are bad. There is no middle ground. It is bottom of the league or title contention.
Detroit's pretty bad also.
Absolutely. And my wife's family's from Detroit, and I remind them of that as often as I can.
Yeah, Detroit's pretty bad.
If I'm not mistaken, Frank Thomas, I don't think he won a World Series. I think the White Sox ended up winning, but
They won it in
that's a
05
shame.
with Ozzie Guillen. Yeah,
Yeah.
Frank Thomas is long gone.
That was a shame, man. I really wanted him to win. But the last thing I want to talk about, because I hate the Chicago Bulls, I just want to ask you, how many pounds per square force do you think Jordan pushed Brian Russell off with? Because because he legitimately almost sent them to the stands.
You know, when you play overcommitted defense, like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. I don't know, man.
Hey, Michael Jordan.
I'm pretty sure I had that picture hanging on my wall as a kid for a few years,
you
too,
didn't.
dude. Like, it's just right up
Everybody,
there.
even people that weren't Bulls fans had that up. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine? Like, you saw the fandom of Michael Jordan across the country or around the world. Could you imagine actually living in Chicago? Like, Michael Jordan must have been what Messi is for most people.
Yeah, I mean, it was everyone was wearing his jersey. Everyone was wearing like any Bulls, anything, the starter jackets, the sneakers. That's all anyone wore, talked about. I remember we were going up to a summer camp up in Wisconsin, and there's no cable, there's no nothing. People are like smuggling in TVs to try radio signals. People are like hanging off their cabins trying to get a radio signal or something. Like, yeah, it was world changing for that sport without a doubt. And everything we're seeing with the Olympics now, it's all from that 90s era.
Do you follow the U.S. men's national team?
I do a little bit, yeah.
Oh, okay, so just a little bit. So maybe not. I was gonna ask you what you thought about Patrick Vieira, but no, if you're not a,
you know, I mean, there are diehards out there. I can't say I'm a diehard, but I do follow the team. I do follow the news. I did see Vieira's name thrown out there, and I think, did he say that he would be interested in it as well?
Supposedly, there's negotiations happening. There's talks happening. That's what's being reported everywhere. It sounds like he's the leading candidate. I wanted him to be the coach for Inter Miami. I brought it up a few times on the show. I said Tata Martino or Patrick Vieira is who I wanted down here because I thought it was a recognizable name that players would respect, and he also has some MLS experience. So that's who I wanted. I don't know about the U.S. men's national team, though.
Yeah, I don't know how he would make that transition from club to international. That's something we saw with Berhalter. He could never get to that next level at the international game with the style of play that he wanted and the players that he had. So could Vieira do that? Maybe. I think he's got a little bit more international flavor to him, maybe. Maybe that's just, my biases in knowing he's been overseas coaching as well. But I don't think it's a bad suggestion at all. And if you're U.S. Soccer and you're recruiting, or if any company's recruiting, cast a wide net, man. Bring him in, talk to him, see what his thoughts are, and see how you can work together. I think it's a really good pitch. Is he going to be the final fit? We'll see who else comes in there.
Wolford Nancy supposedly they were targeting also, but I don't know. I think they just want a name, and Patrick Vieira is probably a decent name. He'll get some respect just off of his playing career.
Yeah. Do you think that the U.S. Soccer Federation is looking for the best coach for the team, or do you think they're looking to shut the fans up and just say, "Look, we hired a good guy that y'all liked"?
I think it could be the latter.
Possible. Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Is a hot dog a sandwich, Nick?
Is a hot dog a Chicago-style hot dog's a sandwich? That's for sure. It's a whole meal.
But like generally speaking, do you believe?
I have never been a hot dog a sandwich guy. No, it's its own food.
That's good.
Well, people say, is a hot dog a taco or a sandwich? And I'm like, no, it's a hot dog. Like, don't try to pull me into that.
That's true. I was just gonna say people say it's a taco, but it's not a taco.
It isn't a taco. Real quick before I forget, I almost forgot. On Tuesday, we're starting the Battered MLS Fans show. So if you haven't already, I'm putting the link up in the chat. So if you haven't already, click on that and subscribe to the channel. We're coming on Tuesday at 9:00. First episode, we'll be talking about Leagues Cup, which should be interesting. Nick,
already subscribed. I'm ready to go.
Appreciate you. Mason Greenwood. Why the heck are we talking about Mason Greenwood? Jesus.
No, because he's saying because Mike V is dropping fire here. Mason over Jordan, Starks over Jordan, Oakley over Jordan, Gressel over Jordan, and then Dennis Lopez. Dennis Lopez, you can see your way out with this hot dog. Okay.
Oh man.
No, okay, because I saw Mason Greenwood. I was like, why on earth would we be bringing that guy up in this chat? And Adrian, shout out to Adrian. Appreciate you. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Nick, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Please let everybody know where they could find you and follow you.
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Glasshouse Soccer, and you can tune into my podcast. A couple episodes every week, usually Monday night and Wednesday night. They're released. That's the Feed the Fire podcast. Looking forward to interacting with everybody as we go on.
Joe Kerr.
Come
on, Joe.
And again,
he's in Italy. He's allowed to be.
That's required.
And let me tell you something. Joe Kerr used to join us from like Bangladesh. And he used to be, at one time he was at Madagascar, and now he's just chilling at home. What happened, Joe? You lost your job?
He gave his money all to Mike V, and Mike V's in Italy right now, drinking wine, getting drunk, and eating real pizza.
Chris, any final thoughts here?
Ketchup is legal. Okay, this is not a federal offense. I've checked with all governments. The United States Department of Transportation allows me to transport this, and yeah, man. Thank you so much for being playful with us, Nick. I've been waiting for this episode for a long time, and it's much appreciated for sure.
I hope it met your expectations, man.
Yes.
Nick, first album ever purchased?
Hootie and the Blowfish, Cracked Rear View.
Ooh, that's a good one. I didn't expect that.
I wasn't expecting that either. I like that.
Oh, no? What were you expecting? Now that you've got to talk to me for an hour or so here and got to know me a little bit.
Well, I wasn't expecting fucking Hootie and the Blowfish. That's for sure.
All right.
No. I was expecting maybe Korn, Linkin Park.
All right. Well, maybe I'm dating myself a little bit then, but yeah, a little older than those guys.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Tomorrow morning, Cafecito with the Herons, 7 a.m. We're going to be talking, because everybody's been asking us to talk about David Martinez. We haven't done it, so we're going to do it tomorrow morning. David Martinez, we're going to talk about the MLS rule changes. So if you are up at 7 a.m. on your way to work, tune in. We'll be on 7 a.m., which is like 10 hours from now. So jump in with us, and 10 hours from now, we'll be drinking some coffee, talking some Inter Miami. If you are listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5 stars, comment, review, all that other good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. And as always, for those of you in the chat, we appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us. It was a little light in the chat today, but everybody that was here brought the heat. We appreciate you guys for having fun with us. As always, you guys are the best part of the show. And we'll be back in 10 hours. So until the next one, have a good one.
How'd you miss